We're looking at a story most of you are probably intimately familiar with, the dark, gripping saga of Reizo, the elite assassin.
Yeah, it's such a heavy narrative.
It really is. We're looking at the absolute breaking point of a human weapon. Why did this master assassin ultimately slaughter Kimochi, the very guru who adopted him, fed him, and forged him into this lethal instrument? And he was, what, just 8 years old when this started?
Yeah, exactly, just a kid. And you brought up the toe walking rule earlier, which is really the perfect entry point into Kimochi's philosophy.
It's so messed up.
Kimochi didn't institute the walking rule just to build, like, freakishly strong leg muscles.
Oh, it's way more sinister than that.
Right. He operated on a terrifying premise. He believed ninjas have absolutely no right to be weak. And that pain is not just a byproduct of training.
Pain is the actual curriculum.
Exactly. The goal wasn't to build better humans, but better killers. That total physical conditioning harbored a fatal psychological flaw.
Which is the stubborn persistence of empathy.
Exactly.
And we actually see that vulnerability crack wide open as Reizo gets older. I mean, we all know the lore, right?
Yeah.
Reizo becomes this terrifyingly skilled warrior.
Oh, absolutely lethal.
He specifically masters the art of fighting in total darkness. He learns to kill without seeing. He learns to feel without hearing. Yet, despite all of that, a sliver of humanity somehow remained. Because during this critical combat trial against another student, that perfect programming actually fails. Reizo has the opponent dead to rights. He is positioned to deliver the fatal blow, but he deliberately pulls his strike.
He just won't do it.
Yeah, he leaves the opponent breathing. And Kimochi is enraged. He responds with a punishment so severe it's essentially a death sentence. He basically tells Reizo that if he somehow manages to survive the night, training resumes the next day at dawn. But here's where it gets really interesting. Because Reizo survives the night,
Somehow.
Kimochi actually promotes him to top disciple. And Reizo is sitting there with this festering memory of being tortured specifically for an act of grace. It forces this ideological vacuum.
A dangerous question starts to form.
Yeah, he has to be asking himself, like, is this power actually being used for anything remotely justified? Or even used for good? He literally doesn't know what a functioning, empathetic society even looks like.
He needs to see it to believe it.
Exactly. To actually reject the system, he needs empirical proof that an alternative way of living is even physically possible.
Right. To break a deeply ingrained generational paradigm, you need an architectural stress test.
An anomaly.
Yeah, you need an element introduced into the structure that proves it can bear a completely different kind of load without collapsing.
And that element is Kiriko. We know Kiriko operates as a complete anomaly within this cold-blooded environment.
She's so different from the others.
Totally. She provides this cold-blooded Reizo with a sense of genuine warmth. She believes in freedom, she's kind.
And she's vocal about it.
Very. She says, if you keep even a tree tied up, it dies. Kimochi operates on the idea that extreme restriction and pain forge an unbreakable weapon.
And she argues that restriction inherently breeds decay.
Right, and she tests her hypothesis in real time. She wins a duel, and just like Reizo, she establishes a hard boundary. She flat out refuses to kill her opponent.
Which of course forces Kimochi's hand. He has to escalate his methods.
And the consequence is brutal.
It is. He doesn't just issue a beating this time. He steps forward and mercilessly slashes Kiriko's face with a knife.
It's so hard to watch.
And then he locks her in a cage, basically ensuring Reizo watches this entire spectacle unfold.
Yeah, Reizo's just consumed by this paralyzing mix of anger, helplessness, and fear. The weather completely mirrors the internal chaos. The rain is pouring down, and Kiriko finally makes her move. She dares to escape the cage and runs for the perimeter wall.
And Reizo follows her.
Yeah, running purely on instinct, he shadows her through the rain and catches up to her right at the boundary line. She looks at him, standing at the threshold between their hellish reality and the unknown outside world, and begs him to run away with her. But he hesitates. He freezes. He looks at the wall, looks at her, and utters that crushing line. I belong here. I can't leave. She gives us this gentle kiss, scales the wall, and vanishes into the dark alone.
Leaving him behind.
Yeah. Kimochi already knew about the escape.
He knew before she even left the cage.
Yeah. He allowed her to scale the wall, allowed her to taste the rain, because he had an elaborate trap waiting in the forest beyond.
A brutal trap.
She is captured, violently dragged back into hell, and her attempt is deemed the ultimate treason. Witnessing Kiriko's capture, seeing her dragged back covered in mud and blood, that is the exact moment something inside Reizo finally shatters. She makes a mistake.
Right.
According to the ancient rules of this organization, her mistake just has to be paid for in blood.
Kimochi, the very master who raised her, who fed her, who trained her, he is the one who carries out the sentence and kills her.
Right in front of them.
He buries the trauma, he continues his training, he basically weaponizes his own hatred just to survive the day-to-day reality.
Which sets the stage perfectly for the moment Kimochi finally decides to test his shiny new weapon. Raizo is sent on his first official assignment, and the target profile is fascinating.
The guy with the watch.
Yes. It's this powerful, heavily guarded man characterized in the text by this really thick watch he wears. And when Raizo initiates the attack, things don't go smoothly right away.
No, not at all.
The man is physically massive, incredibly strong, and he is just completely unfazed by the initial strike. Raizo essentially turns the engagement into a physiological war of attrition.
Right.
He uses his speed to evade the heavy blows. He lands these precise, debilitating strikes to specific muscle groups. He just waits for the enemy's stamina to bleed out until the kill is finally surgically secured. Yeah, so he completes the mission, returns to the stronghold, and Kimochi is pleased. The investment paid off.
For now.
Right. But Kimochi demands proof of, quote, absolute loyalty. One successful hit against a stranger isn't enough for him.
No, it never is with these tapes.
Exactly. So the master hands down the next target, and it is a runaway ninja girl. And the moment Raizo sees this girl, triggers the exact same imagery and memories of Kiriko.
It's a direct mirror.
It's a direct mirror held right up to his deepest trauma. All that suppressed humanity violently awakens, and he completely breaks. And Raizo definitively refuses to sign that pact. In a split second, his humanity overrides his lifelong programming, and he actually turns his weapon on his master. He strikes Kimochi. The aftermath is just total chaos. Raizo attacks, but he is instantly swarmed by the rest of the clan. And we really see the pragmatic reality of combat here.
Yeah, numbers matter.
They really do. It doesn't matter how skilled you are or how perfectly you executed that war of attrition earlier, overwhelming force and sheer numbers will eventually crush you.
Yeah.
So they beat him down, he's severely injured, bleeding out, and they literally throw him from a massive height.
And they assume he's dead.
They peer over the edge and just assume he's gone. But this is not the end of Raizo.
No, it's really just the beginning. He survives the fall, but the man who stands up is fundamentally different from a disciple who fell.
Yeah.
He goes into deep exile. He strips away his identity, changes his name, relocates to a completely new city, and just vanishes into the background noise of civilian society.
He's a ghost.
Exactly. While he is hiding, the fire of vengeance inside him does not cool down. The isolation actually fans the flames.
He begins crafting and enhancing his own custom arsenal, specifically these dual swords and brutal, heavy-bladed weapons attached to long chains. It really proves that no matter how deep you bury yourself in the mundane, your past will eventually catch the scent. Raizo is literally just doing his laundry. You have the fluorescent lights flickering, the rhythmic hum of the washing machines is the absolute pinnacle of the ordinary. And in walks a girl. She casually approaches Raizo and asks him for a very simple favor, to help her fold a bedsheet. The escalation is absolute.
It's instant.
The act of folding laundry instantly transforms into a lethal, close-quarters bloodbath. She attacks with full lethal intent. Raizo handles it, because, he's the iron weapon of vengeance 2.0,
Yes.
but it is a desperate, messy struggle. The fight is so chaotic that the noise actually draws out the owner of the laundromat.
Right.
The owner walks out to the main floor, walks over to the washing machine expecting to see a tangled load of tumbling clothes, and is just absolutely paralyzed with shock. Stuffed inside the industrial washing machine is the violently contorted dead body of the assassin girl. But from a tactical perspective, they found him. He was a ghost, quietly gathering intel on his own terms, and now he is firmly on their radar.
Europol headquarters.
Yes, Europol. We're following the files of a senior investigator named Mika.
Right.
She's just digging through historical records, doing, standard analytical legwork.
The boring stuff, honestly.
Exactly. But then she stumbles onto this terrifying correlation. She finds a concrete clue linking a geopolitical event from the 1800s.
The assassination of a Korean queen.
Right. Linking that to an ancient, highly secretive network known as the Uzunu. When they select a target, they don't just eliminate them from a distance with a sniper rifle.
No, they make it personal.
Very personal. The target receives a physical envelope, and inside that envelope are severed fingers.
It is an induction of anticipatory dread.
Here's where it gets really interesting to me. because it's like the ultimate horrific RSVP.
That's a good way to put it.
They are initiating a psychological game. They're explicitly stating, we are coming, and your defenses are irrelevant.
And then the execution itself is where their tactics really clash with modern defense systems.
Right. With them moving like shadows, they will quietly sever the power grid to an entire compound,
Plunging the area into absolute darkness.
which triggers these chaotic, horrific events with no apparent cause.
And, the sophisticated intersection of ancient fear tactics and modern vulnerability.
Yeah.
It's exactly what elevates this investigation from a bizarre historical cold case to an immediate geopolitical crisis.
And this is where Mika's superior, Boss Maslow, steps into the fray.
Because Maslow sees Mika's findings and recognizes a pattern.
Right. He pulls a file from an old intelligence contact in Moscow.
A highly classified Cold War-era report,
And this document catalogs hundreds of political assassinations spanning decades.
all bearing the distinct signature of the Azunu. So to verify this, Maslow travels to Russia to interface directly with the agent who authored the report.
But the trail is already being violently erased.
Yeah, he is met only by the agent's widow, and she reveals her husband was mysteriously murdered 2 years prior,
But she does give Maslow a small box of his final effects.
which is a huge break in the case. Inside are photographs, scattered files, and most importantly, an audio-video recording of the agent's actual assassination.
And on that tape, Maslow and Mika clearly identify a Japanese youth.
Confirming the Ozunu eliminated the Russian operative to bury the investigation.
Exactly. It provides Maslow and Mika with the one thing the Azunu cannot afford to leave behind,
Actionable proof.
which pushes the Europol investigation to critical mass. There's continuing to build the case around the Japanese youth seen on the tape, entirely unaware that their every single move is being watched.
And the twist is, it isn't just the Ozunu watching them.
Right. Their official, sanctioned Europol office is suddenly raided by the CIA and allied military forces.
A coordinated state-level intervention against their own allies. The moment the raid happens, the legal framework of his investigation dissolves.
He warns Mika that any further digging will result in them meeting the exact same fate as the dead Russian agent.
They must be exceptionally careful. Her entire goal is to drag this shadow organization into the public light, which of course makes her a massive prime target.
Yeah, she has a huge target on her back. And that brings us to the second figure, Riso. He is a renegade ninja, formerly of the Azunu clan himself, who actually intercepts a hit placed on Mika.
Yeah. An Ozunu assassin infiltrates Mika's apartment.
Yeah, I love this part.
It's pitch black. Mika is completely defenseless. But then Rizzo steps out of the shadows to intercept the assassin.
And Riso neutralizes the sword-wielding assassin in just a few moves.
Right.
Yeah.
And right after this brutal ancient combat concludes, Mika looks at Riso in the darkness and realizes she recognizes him.
Yes. This is a key moment.
She recognizes him from modern CCTV footage. She had literally seen him on a surveillance tape. After Riso and Mika flee to a safe house, the rest of the Azunu assassins arrive at Mika's empty apartment. These ninjas don't track by looking for footprints or hacking street cameras. They possess a sense of smell sharper than a tracking dog's.
It's wild.
Riso actually has to physically scrub Mika's scent from her body so they can't be followed. And because Riso understands how terrifyingly capable the Azunu are, he makes a massive strategic pivot. He realizes that an ancient renegade and a terrified investigator aren't going to survive this alone right now.
Right.
They need institutional power. So he instructs Mika to contact her boss, a modern bureaucratic official named Maslow. They go to the rendezvous point, expecting a cooperative meeting. Instead, they walk right into a massive tactical ambush. But it isn't the ninjas, it's modern special forces. Hit Riso with high-voltage electric shocks and completely subdue him, capturing him by clamping down on his neck. Mika is furious. She confronts her boss Maslow at the tactical base. She wants to know why he betrayed them. And Maslow's response is fascinating.
It is.
He doesn't act like a criminal mastermind. He claims he's being forced to do this by unseen higher-ups in the government. He insists he is just as helpless as she is. Yet right after saying this, he secretly slips Mika a digital tracking device. He tells her to activate it if she's in danger so he can find her. So Riso is chained up in an interrogation room, and Mika tries desperately to sound that alarm. She visits Riso in captivity, trying to comfort him by saying Maslow left her a tracker, that there is still a modern systemic plan. Riso, who has just been brutalized by electric shocks, looks at her with total calm and says 3 words, "It's too late." Mika panics. She runs to the tactical officials, begging them to prepare because the Izunu clan is coming. And the officials literally brush her off. And then the power to the entire tactical building is cut. The lights go out. The hum of the servers dies. The Izunu clan attacks. These highly trained special forces operators are swatted away like mosquitoes.
Mosquitoes, yeah.
Fragile, annoying, and easily crushed. In the middle of this absolute slaughter, Mika is running on pure survival instinct. She crawls through the dark, finds a dead police officer, steals his keys, and manages to unlock Rizo's restraints. The courtyard has been turned into a literal graveyard. Bodies of heavily armed security forces are scattered everywhere. It is a scene of utter worldview-shattering horror for Mika. He knew it all along. He doesn't even break his stride. He immediately leads Mika out toward the parking lot to find a vehicle and escape. But as they are moving quietly through the dark, Rizzo abruptly stops. Even without seeing a single movement, he senses a trap. He knows the Izunu assassins are waiting in the shadows ahead of him. He turns to Mika, tells her to get to the car, start the engine, and flee the compound immediately. He tells her he is going to stay behind and engage the assassins entirely alone.
Rizzo is cornered by a squad of his former brothers, and they're led by his old senior in the clan. Rizzo's combat style with a weighted chain.
Oh, the chain sequences are unbelievable.
Right. And the defining characteristic is pure economy of motion. There is zero wasted movement. I mean, every single strike is mathematically calculated.
But the most revealing moment is when the weapon actually fails.
Yes, the chain breaks mid-fight.
And a lesser fighter, who relies heavily on the tool, would panic in that moment.
Naturally.
But Rizzo seamlessly transitions into devastating his attackers barehanded. But while he is fighting this incredibly intimate hand-to-hand battle, the narrative gives us a brilliant simultaneous contrast with Mika's escape.
She's trapped in her car, and an assassin is actively trying to smash through the glass to get to her. She throws the car into gear, slams the accelerator, shoots the attacker in the leg while steering, and just peels out while dodging an absolute storm of weaponry bouncing off the chassis. The assassin swarm eventually overwhelms him, and he's forced to flee. He moves like a bird, executing this incredible parkour over every obstacle, crashing through a glass door into a busy street market, and then...
One that he gets absolutely leveled by a random car.
Yes, a random car just hits him. And Mika arrives just in time to drag his unconscious body from the street and hide them in a hotel. To survive long-term, you can't just run. You have to shift into a tactical counterattack. And this is where the mechanics of that clash of eras really shift into overdrive.
The Trojan horse aspect.
Exactly. Because while Rizzo is out cold, Mika activates a tracking device given to her by her superior, Boss Maslow.
Right, she makes a calculated move to bring in overwhelming modern force. Maslow and heavily armed tactical units mobilize immediately.
But the Izunu clan's speed is almost supernatural. By the time the task force breaches the hotel, the clan has already infiltrated, kidnapped Rizzo, and vanished.
Dragging him all the way back to their ancient mountain hideout.
They drag him right into the belly of the beast. And waiting for him is the one-eyed old master, his former teacher.
And the master doesn't want to welcome him back into the fold.
No, not at all. He wants to execute Rizzo to cleanse his own tarnished honor. But as they engage in this physical struggle, the twist drops. The tracking device Mika planted actually falls out of Rizzo's gear.
Oh, this scene is incredible.
It is. Before the master can even comprehend what that little blinking light signifies, the sky opens up. Special forces completely surround the supposed impenetrable ancient fortress, heavy gunfire rains down, and these invincible shadow warriors are suddenly dropping off the rooftops. Was getting captured actually the ultimate tactical play?
That's a really interesting way to look at it.
I mean, obviously Rizzo was unconscious, so Mika made the call, but they effectively allowed the enemy to drag a modern-day Trojan horse directly through their own impenetrable gates.
It absolutely exposes the fatal flaw of deeply isolated systems.
And with the clan's walls completely shattered by the modern world, the massive scale of the conflict starts to funnel down. The fortress is breached, Rizzo is freed in the chaos, and the war stops being a clash of eras.
It becomes violently personal.
Yeah.
He is no longer fighting anonymous soldiers. He is systematically deconstructing his own traumatic past.
He even alters his combat style entirely here. He enters the fray wielding two swords, cutting through the men he basically spent his life eating and training alongside.
It's a brutal sequence.
It is. And this gauntlet leads directly to an intensely emotional duel with a senior brother, the specific individual who murdered Rizzo's beloved Kiriko. The narrative explicitly states that revenge fuels Rizzo here. It acts as the driving force that allows him to win this deeply intimate fight.
And this final battle is grueling.
Oh, it's intense.
The Master isn't just skilled, his speed is described as nearly supernatural in the text. But more importantly, the Master is not trying to simply eliminate Rizzo. He is actively trying to break his spirit before he kills him. The Master wants to prove that the clan's way is absolute. If he can force the rebel to yield, the rebellion dies with him.
And the terrifying part is, Rizzo is actually losing. He tries to fight back using the Master's own techniques, the stances and strikes he was taught within the clan, and he fails to land a single significant hit.
To finally overcome the Old Master, Rizzo requires a catalyst completely external to the clan's ecosystem.
And that external catalyst is Mika. The Master is standing over Rizzo, preparing to deliver the final lethal execution. Suddenly, Mika bursts onto the scene, bringing the modern world back into the fight, and she fires at the Master.
And the Master reacts with impossible speed.
Yeah, he retaliates instantly with a strike that severely injures Mika, dropping her to the ground.
And seeing her fall forces Rizzo into this massive paradigm shift.
It propels him past simple anger into absolute clarity. Witnessing that sacrifice unlocks something dormant in him.
The final evolution.
Right, he achieves the ultimate art, the ability to physically disappear into the shadows, moving with the speed of lightning. Evolving past everything his teacher could even comprehend, he strikes, finally killing the Old Master and ending the clan's reign.
He reaches the physical pinnacle of their arts, but only by embracing the profound human connection that the clan explicitly forbade. It's a paradox the Master could never solve.
But then the narrative delivers a medical twist that totally redefines the entire conflict.
This part is wild.
It really is. Everyone, Rizzo, the audience, the surviving tactical units, assumes Mika is dead. The Master's strike was perfectly aimed at her heart, but she survives.
She actually survives.
She survives because of an anatomical anomaly called dextrocardia. Her heart is located on the right side of her chest cavity instead of the left.
Which is incredibly rare.
Right. The Master struck the mathematically perfect kill zone for a normal human, and he missed the vital organ entirely.
We don't need to get bogged down in the clinical definition of the condition because the philosophical weight of that moment is staggering on its own.
Oh, absolutely.
The Ozunu clan operated as a flawless machine. They rely entirely on anatomy being perfectly predictable, behavior being standardized, and biology being uniform.
So Mika is the living embodiment of the unpredictable human element.
Exactly.
She is an outsider, she is driven by compassion rather than calculation, and she is a literal biological anomaly. The system executed its programming perfectly, it aimed for the heart, but because she fundamentally differed from their standardized model, the system completely failed.
It proves that a rigid, calculated machine can never fully account for the endless variations of the human condition.
Which perfectly sets up the quiet, poignant final scene. The gunfire stops. The clan is broken. Rizzo climbs up a stone wall, the specific spot where Kiriko used to hide from the Masters.
A very symbolic location.
Very. And he looks out over the landscape, breathing the air, not as an incredibly lethal weapon, but as a genuinely free man, realizing that the ultimate goal was never power, but self-reliance and freedom.
He didn't just burn down his prison. He finally stepped out of the ashes and recognized his own agency. He is no longer defined by his opposition to the clan. He is defined by who he chooses to be next.
That is the core of true extraction. As we wrap up today's deep dive, I want to bring this right back to you listening.
Yeah, let's connect the dots.
We've spent the last several minutes exploring the mechanics of lightning-fast chains, ancient assassins, and mountain fortresses. And while you probably aren't dodging throwing stars on your commute today...
I really hope you aren't.
Right. But we all find ourselves entangled in rigid systems. We all navigate toxic workplace cultures, outdated community standards, or even internal mindsets that demand our quiet submission and punish our anomalies.
Rizzo's escape proves that trying to play by the rules of a broken system will only ever result in your submission.
So true.
You cannot outstealth a machine designed to control the shadows. True freedom requires introducing elements the system cannot control. Transparency, genuine emotion, and a willingness to embrace the chaotic, unpredictable nature of the outside world.
You have to be willing to shatter the glass and step out into the noisy, complicated street. So I want to leave you with a final thought to chew on today.
It's a good one.
Think about the blinking GPS tracker Mika planted on Rizzo, the tiny piece of technology that brought the overwhelming light and noise of the modern world crashing through the walls of an archaic, isolated fortress. What if the most effective weapon against the oppressive, outdated systems in our own reality isn't matching their force, but simply exposing them to the light of day?
That's a powerful caution.
What tracker can you plant today? What conversation can you start? What boundary can you set to bring transparency and irreversible change to the rigid systems in your own life? Keep asking those questions, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.